Hey guys, Mike here from Binny Outdoors. Welcome to the 2023 Reel Review video. It's a lot of words there, but basically, as you can tell from behind me, I buy a lot of stuff. I spent a lot of money throughout the fishing season on equipment, on baits, and I don't want you to waste your money on something that's junk. So what I like to do is at the end of the season, I give you an honest review of all the products that I purchased to let you know if it made it through the season of tons of fishing, whether it was reliable, if it was worth it, if it wasn't worth it, just to give you guys another perspective on whether or not you should buy some new equipment for the upcoming season. So for this episode, what we're going to be talking about today is reels. I actually purchased a ton of new reels this season. I ended up buying a bunch of them. Some of them I got on really good sales, but for the most part, they're just reels or combo sets that I bought because I felt like I had a need that needed to be filled, and I purchased these for that need. We're going to start out with the spinning reels. So for the first reel we're going to talk about, I'm going to show you guys an image of it right up here. So it is a spinning reel made by Favorite. Now they're usually just a rod company, but they've dabbled into the reel industry. I'm gonna tell you, this one right here, I wanted to like it. I love the color of it. I had a Favorite rod in the same balance series that this reel was made for, but it just fell short. And the reason why it fell short was it wasn't very good at casting. It did not have a good distance to the cast, regardless of the weight of the bait, and it just did not really hold up very, very well throughout the season. I still have it. I still fish with it. So it didn't break down to the point where you couldn't use it, but it did break down to the point where it didn't have as good a casting distance and it got loose. Everything felt looser very, very quickly into using it. About halfway through the year, it really loosened up and I ended up switching up to an entirely different spinning reel, which is the next reel we're going to talk about. So this next reel was one that I honestly had zero expectation for. I had no thought that this thing was going to be an awesome reel. I bought it purely because of the price and the fact that I could get it on Amazon in 2 days and I just needed a spinning reel. I was pleasantly surprised to the point where I'm really considering buying a second one of these, possibly even a third. Now, I will throw the little caveat of when I use a spinning rod, I only use braid because I'm using high vis braid. So I've never used a monofilament or a fluorocarbon on it, so I don't know the difference on the casting distance. I've only used high vis braid in like a 10-pound test. But I will tell you, as compared to that Favorite reel, this one right here, KastKing Spartacus 2, this thing was amazing for the price that I paid for it. I caught, I'm going to say 60% of my fish this season with this reel. I caught it on Ned rigs, wacky rigs. I even Texas rigged with this. I used small size crankbaits. You name it, I pretty much cast with this thing when I needed to. It never failed me. It had amazing casting distance. It had the power to fight the fish, and it never loosened up. And if you know what I mean, when you buy a reel and you first get it out of the box, everything just feels tight. Eventually, it feels like when you're turning that reel, it's just not responding, and everything kind of feels like it's floating. This reel never did that, and I caught a ton of fish with this setup. So I really, really highly recommend checking this out. And I didn't say it in the opener, but guys, I'm going to have links down in the description below to every one of these products. I'm going to say again, this spinning reel was amazing and it really, really was worth the money. So check out KastKing. I'm really, really impressed because I honestly thought it was going to be junk and it was definitely not. So now we're going to get into the casting reels. So this one right here was something that I had debated on for almost an entire season before picking it up. It was a higher price point for me, anyways. It is the Lew's Mach 2. Now, I bought mine in a combo. I do buy combos a lot, honestly, because it gives me backup rods in case I break a rod. A lot of times when you're getting a combo, one piece or the other is cheaper, and that's kind of why they give it to you in a combo. We're not going to talk about the rod today, but we are going to talk about how this reel converted me. It actually made me a believer. What I mean by that is that this reel was so smooth, casted so far with straight braid, that I decided I was willing to risk losing money on fluorocarbon to put straight fluoro on this reel. Now, in the past, I've tried this, and just the way that I cast, I tend to cast too hard and I blow up reels quite a bit. And to the point where I'm ending up cutting out all that fluorocarbon and wasting that money. This reel was so good that I opted to try it, and I won't go back. This reel has straight fluoro on it. It is now going to be a reel that is straight fluoro forever. I've already bought more fluoro to replace it. This is significant, and the reason why I say that is because for those of you who aren't familiar with having casted straight fluoro on a bait casting reel, it's risky because when you don't have everything dialed in, that thing blows up and you wasted all that money. And fluorocarbon's not cheap. This is a great combo. Now, I will tell you, it's normally like a $200 combo, and it goes on sale in random windows of time. I highly recommend getting this thing on sale. I paid $150 for the combo, so in my opinion, that's a pretty good deal because you're getting a decent rod and a solid reel for a good price point. So I will tell you, Lew's has really impressed me this year, and you're going to find that out throughout this series. But ultimately, the Lew's Mach 2 combo, it's not just me that believes in this. My buddy Bear Fishing, he has the exact same combo. He swears by this rod too, and I know a couple other guys that have the same exact rod and reel and use it pretty consistently. So it's not just even my review, it's a review of a couple other guys that fish almost as much as me, and they all love it as well. So just saying, I'm not a fanboy of any particular brand, but Lew's is starting to win me over with their casting reels. So this next reel, guys, we're going to talk about is another Lew's. So it is a Lew's KVD model. Everybody knows who KVD is in the bass fishing world, and I just decided, you know what? Let's try this reel out. So this is the one I picked up. I actually bought this one and paid probably too much for it because I picked it up at a local tackle shop, and it was really because I wanted one more reel for an upcoming tournament, and I needed it, and it looked like the best price point. And because I had so much success with that Mach 2, I ended up putting straight fluoro on it, and again was very impressed with the ability of this reel to cast distance, to have perfect performance, to be very tight, very smooth. It felt like a solid reel. Now I will say I did not have a ton of experience with this reel because I only got to fish about a month and a half, 2 months with it before the end of the season. But I will say I never had a problem with it getting to a big blow up bird's nest. I never had a problem with drag. I never had an issue fighting fish, and I fought different species of fish with this thing. I caught pike, I caught bass, I caught just about every species with this thing, and it just overall was a really solid reel. I'm very happy with it. I will say it was a little bit on the pricier side. I believe I paid like $150 for it or so. So that's a pretty steep price point for some people, and I know some people are more in the Abu Garcia Black Max world. But I will say, if you're looking for something to cast fluorocarbon, this Lew's reel is a pretty solid deal. Alright, to prove I'm not a fanboy, we're going to talk about a different maker this time. So we're going to talk about Shimano. Now, I have fished pretty much every style of reel. I've gone out and bought them, honestly, just to try them, just to see which manufacturers I like, which ones I don't. And I like experimenting. This one was one I bought actually in 2021. It is a Shimano Caius. So this I bought as a combo because I wanted the rod. I had nothing to do with the reel at all. I actually really didn't care about the reel. It's just it was a good price for the combination, and I figured I could use the reel as a backup. Had a love-hate relationship with this reel, to be honest. I couldn't really find a place for it. I started out using it for crankbaits, didn't really like it, put it away. Brought it back out, started using it for jigs on my jig rod, and it did a very good job with the jigs, with the exception of I'm not good with centrifugal brakes. I don't know how to use them properly. I don't know how to tune them properly. And anytime I tried to skip, I would end up bird's nesting it. Not bad enough that I couldn't just pick it out, but it was just frustrating, so I put it back away. Well, about midway through 2023, I started working with A-Bay Lure, and they sent me some swim baits. They sent me some glide baits, and I needed something to cast those heavier baits with. And a lot of my other reels just really didn't do a great job, and I felt like I needed something a little bit different. So I busted out this Shimano, and it really served that purpose. So what I will say is it is a good reel for the money that you pay for it. It's an excellent combo if you can get it on sale, but it is a very niche type of reel. Now, for those of you guys that are Shimano fanboys, you're probably telling me I'm wrong and that it's a great deal and that it's an awesome reel, but for me, it was mediocre. It's a very specific purposed reel for me. I only use it for that style. For heavier baits, it seems to do really, really well. For lighter baits, I had a hard time not having it bird's nest. I had a hard time keeping it really set up and tuned right. And with those centrifugal braking ones, you can't just turn a dial. You have to take it all apart, click in or click out the different knobs. And I don't have time for that. And I'm not patient enough to learn how to fish those kind of reels. So I'm disparaging it a little bit because of me. But also, I just didn't see where I would spend the kind of money that they're charging for this reel right now because it's not that great a reel. I will say it's decent. If you're casting heavy baits, it may work for you for that. All right, let's go back to lose. So I have been eyeing this reel for a while. And the reason I've been eyeing it is because it comes in a combo. For those of you who saw my video last year, you know that I love the Lose Carbon Fire rod in the medium. That thing has been through 3 seasons with me. It's pretty much the only rod left of my original arsenal that when I started customizing and buying rods for specific purposes, that's still with me. There's a lot of rods that are in the trash because I broke them, I casted them off. I had a favorite rod split in half while I was casting a jig. I've been rough on my gear in the last 2 years. I broke 3 rods before spawn was even over this year. This rod has rode me through multiple seasons. Now I know we're not talking about rods, but the reason I bought this reel was because it's the series. It comes in a combo. I just bought them separately. This Lose Carbon Fire reel is another one that I specifically use for fluorocarbon. But the reason why I'm talking about this one is the price point. It's really, really cheap. The price has gone up quite a bit, and the new model is actually probably overpriced. I don't know if I would pay the price that they're asking for right now, but it goes on sale a lot. And when I bought it, it was about 50% off, so I only paid about $50 for it. This reel is awesome because it casts light baits really, really well. I actually use this particular rod to cast my belly weighted swim baits that I love so much. Anybody who watches my channel, you know that I cast a belly weighted Keitech a lot. This reel allows me to cast those on casting gear. Prior to that, I pretty much exclusively used spinning gear because it was the only thing that could get that bait out there, bring it back, and not have it bird's nest the reel and not have so much trouble getting it further distances. This reel changed that for me. So now I have an extra casting reel in my arsenal that I use for those small baits. I will sometimes throw small wackies on it. I've thrown drop shot on this thing. I've thrown Ned rigs on this thing. It is super, super versatile. It is amazing how smooth and how far this thing will cast lighter style baits. And again, it is in a price point, even at its current price, it's probably equal to that Mach 2, but for a price point that's a lot less. I honestly believe that it's probably modeled off of that Mach 2. There might be some cheaper components and all of that, but ultimately this thing is very, very comparable to the Mach series reels, and it's half the price. And I won't say the knobs. So the handles on that are actually round. They're not flat, they're not square, they're not big, they're a bubble. It's the same thing with the other Lose reels. and I really, really like the knob. It does really feel good in your hand. It seems like it wouldn't work well, but I do want to mention that it does actually feel good in your hands, and your hands don't get worn out when you're using this reel. So I highly recommend checking this one out, especially if you can get it in a combo with the rod, because the rod is one of my absolute favorites. All right, guys, last one, and I know this video is getting long, so I'll try to make it quick. 13 Fishing. When they first came out, they had some freaking cool looking rods. Way too expensive. They had some really awesome looking reels. Way too expensive. Just couldn't do it. I could not pull a trigger on any of their stuff. Well, this year, decided I wanted a higher speed reel. Well, they happen to have this combo. 13 Fate Black with a 13 Origin A reel, 8 speed gear ratio. And I was like, you know what? I want an 8 speed. I want to see what this is about. Let's pick it up. I will tell you, this reel became my jig reel. And I fish jigs a lot. Jigs is a primary bait. It is one of the only baits that I have tied on all year long. That reel handled the duty that I put it through. I jacked a lot of fish with it. I set hooks into rocks and logs, and that thing didn't strip out. It didn't have any trouble bringing a log up from the bottom. Zero issues with drag, zero issues with bird's nest. I had an excellent time, and that thing cost me $99 for the combo. So of all the rods and reels that I've talked about in this video segment, I would say if you're going to get one, get that combo. 13 Fate Black combo with the Origin A. I bought it at Dick's Sporting Goods. That would be the one I would personally recommend you to buy, because it is an awesome reel, it is a solid rod, and it was impressive. Honestly, it made me want to go out and buy another 13 reel, which you guys can kind of see back there. I'm not doing a review on that one because I bought it so late in the season that I have not had an experience with it to really give you guys an honest review. I want to thank you guys for coming along with me. I really appreciate you getting this far into the video. I know this is a little bit longer one. This time of year, I try to do a little bit longer content and give you guys a true, honest review of all the gear that I use throughout the 2023 season. Be on the lookout. We're going to have more videos coming out. We're going to have a clothing review. We're going to have a rod review. And we're going to be doing a live stream on the Spawn podcast talking about my hero baits, the ones that shined really, really well in 2023. So be on the lookout for that as well. I want to thank you guys for coming along with me. If you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and as always, let's get out there, catch more fish.